Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us for today's Expert Solutions webinar. I'm Dan Catnell, the Chief Lending Officer here at Total Expert, and today I'm excited to sit down with Rebecca Colwell from Birdeye. Just a couple quick items before we get started. This is an hour webinar. Most likely it'll be 30 to 40 minutes of Rebecca and I chatting through the solution, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. So as we're talking through, maybe jot down some questions or feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure that everybody's questions get answered. We also are recording this webinar, so anybody that registered to attend the webinar, even if you weren't able to come on today, we will be sending out a recording of today's event. We love hearing you. Like I said, put those questions in the chat, and we'll make sure we answer as many as we can on this call. And anything that we can't answer, we'll certainly follow up and make sure that everything gets answered. So with that, I'm thrilled to introduce Rebecca Colwell, the VP of Product Marketing at Birdeye. Rebecca, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah. So today we're going to look at how Birdeye and Total Expert have really kind of combined forces to optimize lenders' reputation management offering, leveraging the data and insights to enhance the customer experience and drive growth for all of our lenders and mutual customers. So Rebecca, let's jump right in. So just some quick agenda items. Rebecca, we're going to talk a little bit about market overview, changing consumers' behavior, what I'm seeing out there from a lender perspective, what you're seeing out there from a consumer behavior perspective. Then we're going to talk about, why did we do this partnership? Why did it make so much sense for us to kind of really create this synergy and value for our customers? And then you're going to walk us through some of the demo and key features of the Birdeye platform that we're super excited to see. And we'll talk through some use cases and some success stories that we've seen from some of our mutual customers. And then we'll open it up for some Q&A. Sound like a plan?
That sounds fantastic.
All right. So with that, let's jump right in. So maybe I'll just kind of kick things off from a lender's perspective. I think we would, all the lenders and originators that are joining us today, I think everybody would agree, purchasing a home is one of, if not the most significant financial decision a consumer makes in their lifetime. In a lot of cases, the largest asset that they do have to choose from. And the trust factor in their lender and their originator is just so critical. And a lot of our customers leverage people like referral partners to refer that business in. And referral partners also want to make sure that that lender and originator has built the trust with their consumers to make sure that, when they're putting their voice and vouching for their lender partner, that they make sure that they're going to have a positive experience for those mutual customers. So it really is, reputation management really is a critical component to building trust, to maximizing your conversions, and also your customer retention, going forward as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's interesting. I purchased a home 2 years ago, and it was, I am not an expert in how to do this. And so I was tapping into everyone I knew, checking all the sources I could. And now it's coming to that time where hopefully I can refinance and take advantage of some lower rates. And it's that same process again. Who should I be working with? It's a big decision.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked a little bit about this on some of our prep calls, but just the mindset of when you look at reviews. I mean, I literally don't buy anything without looking at reviews these days. So it really is one of the first things that a consumer does to say, hey, is this individual trustworthy? And I know you have some stats that we're going to share.
Yeah,
So maybe walk us through some of the key metrics that you've seen and how that's changed over the years.
absolutely. So we do a lot of primary research and on this topic, and the reality is 98% of people are consulting online reviews before choosing a business. And the funny thing is, it isn't just for a really big decision like where I'm going to refinance my mortgage. It's where am I going to go eat for dinner tonight? What restaurant is within walking distance that looks good? Or where am I going to stay? Or who's going to cut my hair? Like these are these are things where we're consulting the hive mind. And it's really interesting because word of mouth still remains absolutely essential. It's just shifted uh, to Google and Yelp and all of these online review sources.
Yeah, it's almost become the natural habit of how you understand if an organization or an individual is credible. And we were talking about, is 4 stars even enough these days, right?
Right.
Like,
It's such a good point because so it used to be that people would just go to Google, see if you've got a decent reputation, and then it was like, great, I checked the box. Um, our data shows this year that 4 stars used to be the benchmark, and now it's 4.5. And consumers aren't just looking at reviews, they're spending at least 15 minutes reading through your reviews. They're consulting multiple reviews. They're checking to see if you're responding to those reviews. Um, it's interesting too. Amazon had a statistic that said that products that had some negative reviews sell better than products that just have positive reviews because we don't believe it, right? We're like, there's no way. Um, so there's also this idea of is the feedback genuine and how are you as a business taking that feedback into account? And Google looks at that too. So when Google thinks about how to rank your business in a local search, that big three map pack is super important. And they look at the volume of reviews, the quality of your reviews, and if you're responding. So you can spend every dollar you want trying to get a paid search result at the top. But if your online reputation isn't great, people are going to skip over you and go to the next one anyway.
and the response of reviews is so critical in those algorithms to boost SEO. It's just so important in today's day and age.
100%. And the thing is, you can't fake a good review. And that then takes us to the second thing. So when you think about how to stand out in today's market, customers are being so much more selective about who they work with. There's so much more competition than there ever was. So the first thing they do, they conduct their Google search, they look at your reputation. So to stand out, you have to be actively managing that. The second thing is you actually have to deliver a great experience so that you get a great reputation. Um, there's just no cheating this. And so it's really interesting. 80% of consumers are saying that the experience working with a brand is just as important as the products or services that you're getting from that brand. And we talk about expectations for services being higher than ever. We now expect overnight shipping. We now expect, hassle-free returns. And so that may not translate specifically to the mortgage industry, but what consumers might be expecting is that you're available to connect 24/7 through whatever digital channel I want to talk to you through.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's so important is like when you look at customer experience, it can be so broad, right? So what is the things you're measuring? Was your technology intuitive in your digital experience? Was your response time with the consumer responsiveness? So really looking at customer experience from a very broad, set of components that make up every touch point in that consumer interaction. It's just so important to measure to make sure that you understand where you are today, what you're doing well, and ultimately what you need to improve on to make sure that you continue to boost that up.
Absolutely. We have a customer that talks about these moments of truth at various stages of the customer journey. And it's basically what are those key moments that create an impression or an indelible impression of your brand. So it's usually the first touch point or that first impression. And then there are key moments where I might need a little more hand holding or have more questions that are really important for us to just step up and focus on the fundamentals. um, One really interesting thing came out in a survey we did earlier this year. So we asked 5,000 consumers about their negative experiences with brands and how they react. And the truth is, most people don't immediately go and leave an online review. They want to tell you about what happened and give you a chance to address that issue. And 70% of the people that we surveyed said, if you, Dan, delivered a negative experience, but then fixed it, they would do business with you again and leave a positive review.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think in our business, traditionally there was always this mindset of I need to do a post close or a post funding survey one time. And now with reviews being so integral part of the business and the technologies evolve where you can actually start measuring different touch points of those kind of trust building moments through the process to understand where are the moments of breakdown that you can then start to elevate and enhance further. So I do see a lot of lenders now looking at broadening that from just a post-close review, where to your point, it's too late, right?
Yeah.
You don't have time to then adjust that so that when the consumer gets to the finish line of that transaction, you can make sure that they walk away with a very positive sentiment on your organization.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's like connect early, connect often, connect at those points that really matter. And we'll get into this a little more later, but it doesn't have to be like a 10 question extensive survey. A text message from your loan officer just saying, how are things going? How are you feeling right now? Can mean the world to
Yeah.
someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm actually a little confused or stuck at this phase. So let's pivot into, so we're talking about the importance of maintaining a reputation, delivering great service. So how exactly, do we do this? And I think the integration between Total Expert and Birdeye is so fantastic because it allows you to do these three really essential things. The first is, like you said, Dan, soliciting feedback at every single stage of the
Yeah.
journey.
So let's just say at the core, in my mind, I would want to do solicit feedback at a pre-approval stage,
Mhm.
at processing underwriting stage, and at a either pre-funding or rated funding stage. Like those to me are three core milestones that you should understand if there's any breakdowns in each of those different processes. And there's different personnel and support staff involved in those intervals. So you don't want to just measure. I think historically we've measured the originator as like the sole. He is
Mhm.
the quarterback in the he or her the quarterback in the transaction. But there's so many other parties involved in the process. You even have third parties involved, whether it's the real estate agent or a settlement agent or an appraiser even. So really measuring those at each of the different stages is to me is so important to understand where the gaps are and where you need to improve.
Absolutely. And that feedback can come at you from a lot of different areas as well. It's, surveys are great because you've got control over it, but people are also leaving those comments on reviews. And it's not just Google, it's all of the different review sites that they might be commenting on. And so it's really important that you're monitoring that. And then, to your point, looking at it at the location level, the loan officer level, your brand level, um, tracking that over time and increasingly benchmarking it against your competition.
Absolutely.
Um, how are you stacking up against others in your space? And then once you find those things, just take action. Like we said, 70% of people are open to continue working with you if you make it right. But you can't bury your head in the sand and pretend that every interaction's been perfect. Um, but you can't do that if you're not listening and you're not analyzing what's happening.
Absolutely.
So, with that, maybe we could talk a little bit about our partnership and how we work together to make that
Yes.
happen.
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So, for those of you who are new to Birdeye is a platform that was built for mortgage companies and financial companies and multi-location brands. And we are a one-stop shop for your reputation management, social media, digital interactions, and customer experience. So, if we were to think about it in terms of a journey, we help you manage your online reputation across all of those sites. We help ensure you get found on Google through our listings product. We know referrals are important, so we've got components for that. We help you manage all your social media, posts, monitoring, reporting, all of that, chat bots to engage with people on your website. And then most importantly for this conversation, a really robust surveys tool to solicit feedback at every stage of the journey. And then insights and competitors reporting products that really give you visibility into how people feel about your brand and how you stack up and what you might need to do differently to be more competitive.
So really, I mean, Birdeye really is a comprehensive reputation management platform. In essence, I think when a lot of lenders still think about reputation management. They are just leaning into, surveys and reviews, but it's reputation management really has evolved over the years, and it's a much broader set of capabilities. And I love that you guys really have the entire capabilities in a comprehensive platform, one-stop shop for all things reputation management. So
Thanks. And what I absolutely love is how tightly our products work together, which we'll get to in a second. So really quickly, 11,000 plus financial services companies use Birdeye every day, and they use it in conjunction with Total Expert. Integrations are really important to us so that the loan officer experience or the user experience is seamless. So whatever workflow they're more comfortable with works for us. And I mean, winners love working with winners. I love love seeing, Total Expert as the #1 mortgage CRM. Birdeye is also #1 in a lot of these categories: reputation management, customer experience, and we like coming together to provide those amazing solutions.
winners like working with winners. I may use that one. I like that.
Yeah, it's true. And so let's talk about the integration and what it looks like. I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. Do you want to walk us through this one?
Sure. So, all of our customers that are listening to this understand the power of our kind of journey automation capabilities. For anybody that's not familiar with Total Expert, we have a set of automation capabilities that are no-code solutions. So marketers can drag and drop different tiles around to interact using the data that's coming into the platform. So if we use something like a Birdeye integration, we basically have a turnkey journey that we've built that we give to our mutual customers so that they can automatically trigger these surveys when that data come in. So we take a pre-approval or a precedent underwriting stage or a funding stage that can basically kick off this process using our automation capabilities, which can then initiate a survey on behalf of the originator, which is really a key and a bit of a differentiator for Birdeye. So the originator is really that trust builder with the consumer and the real estate agent. Doesn't just have to be consumers, can also be for real estate agents as well. But they are the trust builder. So sending that email or text message on behalf of that originator can all be kicked off and orchestrated automatically. So you talk about an enterprise strategy to really initiate this. And then those survey responses come back into Total Expert. So now you could start to leverage that data maybe on the negative sentiment types of surveys. You're funneling that back to the originator or to a sales manager. On the positive ones, maybe you're delivering a different message to the consumer. Obviously, you're amplifying that on your social sites and things of that nature to help promote that positive sentiment. So a lot of use cases just using kind of the automation and the data that Birdeye is accumulating through kind of that survey and review process.
Absolutely. So let's dig into what it looks like on the Birdeye side. And let's start with the survey, since that's so important. So it's a comprehensive survey platform. You can use our templates to create NPS surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, and what we call pulse surveys, which is what you're seeing on the right. So you can deploy your surveys, like you said, they're triggered from Total Expert. They can be sent via email or text message, which we're seeing here. You can post them on social media, whatever you'd like. What I love about what we're seeing on the right is that response rates are really, really high when you make the survey really straightforward and textable. So I believe the open rate for text messages is above 95%.
I was just going to say, we've just launched our new SMS capability, so I was doing a bit of a research. So 98% open rate is basically what SMS messages are seeing. So pretty astronomical. And you compare that to industry average email rates of floating around 20%. So 98% is fantastic, right? If you can get 98% on just visibility to the messages that you're delivering. So that is another. I just want to call out the ability to text message surveys I look at that as a differentiator in your platform, and that can also come from the originator as well. So it's a trusted number. It's coming from the originator through the Total Expert platform. So the open rate and the click-through rate is certainly going to be much higher than some generic phone number or some untrusted email from some generic email box. So it really is a differentiating factor with your platform.
Absolutely. And then the question, how would you rate your experience today on a scale of 1 to 10? Simply texting back an 8 or a 6 or something, it takes a fraction of a second. And you said 98% response rate or open rate. I think response rates on text are also really, really high. And so you're likely to get, the information that you want. And then, of course, the follow-up questions are customizable. So if someone gives you a 10, you can, say, great, would you like to leave us a referral? Or, what did you like about your experience? If they're giving you a 2 or a 5, you've got some, maybe you need to pick up the phone and call and figure out what's going on. So really great to actually solicit the feedback. And then when that feedback is collected, it goes to 2 places. First is Total Expert, right? And it's tied back to the contact record. So you've got all the visibility you need over the lifetime of that customer journey. So beautiful longevity. The second place is it is also stored in Birdeye, and you can look at all of the classic survey reports and visuals, but you can also use our AI tools to analyze all of the open text feedback and extrapolate all of the themes that you're seeing. Themes with particular loan officers or locations or stages of the journey, and to really figure out where you're strong and where you might need to be investing a little bit to improve the experience.
Yeah, so something as simple as, hey, I'm coming into a refinance market and I helped this consumer with their last purchase. Now I'm going to be able to offer them a refinance. How awesome is it that not only can I stack my refinance opportunities inside the Total Expert platform, but I can marry that up with all the customers that gave me a high level of, experience through the Birdeye platform. Those are the customers that I certainly would want to reach out to first. They love the experience that I gave them the first time around. They're going to love me having a conversation with them about being able to save them some dollars on a potential refinance opportunity. So just how you can utilize that data can be super impactful to your business.
Absolutely. And then, of course, soliciting feedback can also happen. Oh, here's a view of what that looks like. So do you want to walk us through this a little bit?
Sure. So this is just a kind of visualization of what a journey may look like. Like I said, we give this to our mutual customers as a turnkey solution, but any of our customers can modify this to their heart's content based on their intended workflow. So data comes into the platform. In this case, the loan was submitted to underwriting. We're going to send a survey request out via both SMS and email simultaneously. And then we're going to make sure that we get that response. So if we didn't get that response, I'm going to wait 3 days, then I'm going to request that again. So those are some of the response checks that you see on the left-hand side there. So making sure that we're getting a high level of response rates, being able to build some logic in there to say, hey, if I didn't get the survey response from this consumer, I'm going to make sure I follow up with them. Maybe you follow up 2 or 3 times, things of that nature. And then on the right-hand side is just a visualization of the data that can come back into the platform. Obviously, if you build some custom questions and things of that nature, which Birdeye platform is very customizable in that way, all of those data points come back into the platform, and then you can leverage those in, follow-up, whether it's follow-up tasks or notifications to your originators or your managers, whether it's delivering specific messaging back to the consumer or your referral partners. A lot can be done with making sure that you're leveraging that data, in addition to just giving your originators and your sales staff more visibility to the experience that that consumer has. So when they have the next opportunity to serve that consumer, they have that front and center inside their Total Expert platform. They don't have to go into 17 different widgets to find, hey, what did this consumer say about me the last time I transacted with them? it's right
Right.
there front and center inside the platform for them.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's so important that we listen to that feedback. Like, it's not enough to just conduct the survey, right? Like you said, follow up, create the tickets to resolve things, request referrals. So with that, the other thing, a really, really important thing, and other way that people leave feedback is through online reviews. If you were to leave it to chance, and not actively manage your online reputation, what you're likely to see is that customers on the extreme ends are the ones that are leaving your reviews. So you're going to see a lot of ones and a lot of fives, and maybe a lot, not a lot in between. Um, so when you actively take a hand in managing your online reputation and you're soliciting reviews from your customers, what you'll see is a significant increase in volume and an improvement in sentiment, because you get those folks who are 4.5 stars that will take the time to leave you a review, and they'll give you really great feedback. So the way Birdeye works is that we will help you automatically solicit reviews on Google, which is super important, and all of the other sites that really matter within your industry. Those surveys or those review requests can be triggered from Total Expert. You can send them directly from Birdeye, and there are all these little automation rules that you can put in place. The request looks like this. Here's what the manual request looks like. When your customer receives it, they get a little page there that had, I wish I could slow this down to show you. It had two buttons. It was like, leave it on Google, leave it on Facebook. Then there's a big red button that says send us direct feedback. So that is really important because this contact us directly button. What we see the vast majority of the time is that if someone is happy, they're going to go ahead and leave you a review.
Mm-hmm.
And then great, you've got your awesome review. If they're not happy, 9 times out of 10, the psychology of that red button kicks in and they say, you know what, I'm going to send my feedback directly. It creates a ticket and it allows you to follow up to make that situation right without the review ever getting posted to Google. And so it goes back to that stat earlier where 70% of people will work with you if you just try to make it right. Um, so that is super important and something that's different that Birdeye does that you won't see in other platforms.
Awesome.
Yeah, so once you've solicited reviews, right, you've asked people for their feedback, they've left reviews for you on Google or other sites, we consolidate all of those reviews in one platform. So you can see everything in one place. You can get insights on the data. Again, we'll dig into that a little bit more. But then you can also take action to reply to those reviews. So you can thank people for positive reviews, address questions that they had. You can amplify the positive reviews on your website with little widgets that show your best reviews that are cycling through. And you can create rules to automatically share them on social media as well. And that user-generated content is really great because it creates a steady stream of positive things that people have said about you, and keeps your social feeds fresh.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll add, Rebecca, is just, I mean, for the originators out there that aren't investing into having Google My Business pages, you're really missing out. I mean, Google uses that so significantly into their algorithms and search engines. So, the more reviews you get into there on your own Google My Business page that will be automatically done with Birdeye, ultimately is going to increase your SEO. So when people are searching in your local area, you want to be, at the top of that list for sure.
Exactly. And so just like with surveys, the review request workflow is really straightforward from Total Expert.
Yeah. So similarly, in this example, we're going to send out that review at funding, which is pretty common. So after the transaction, let's go and get that review so that we can post it out and advertise that and promote that out to all of your social networks. So loan transaction funds, that data comes into the Total Expert platform. We're going to send that SMS and email message to solicit that review. And then ultimately that's the end of the story.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to pivot to my favorite part because I'm such a data nerd, and this is Birdeye Insights AI, and we also have a competitor's AI tool. So the way this works, you've been collecting all of this feedback through surveys and online reviews. Now, how do you make sense of those two things together? And that's what this platform does. It takes all of the feedback in one place and it uses an industry specific AI model to analyze all of that feedback. And it codes positive words, negative words. It understands sarcasm and intent within these messages. And the first thing it does is it gives you a score. And I'm going to like come out of slideshow mode so I can try to zoom in as much as possible to show this to you. So the Birdeye score looks at three key areas in your business. The first is sentiment, which are the words that people have said about you and the intent behind those. Your reputation score, which looks at my actual star rating on Google, my volume of reviews, if I'm responding to those reviews, Google and all the other sites. And then my listing score is telling me how accurate is the business information about my company online? Is my Google profile complete? Do all of my addresses and phone numbers match across all these listing sites? All of that. With each of these scores, we also tell you how you compare to other customer or other businesses in your exact industry. So you would see, how do I stack up against other mortgage lenders or credit unions or whatever it might be? And we give you this consolidated score. The next thing that we do is stack rank all of your locations and loan officers. So we'll tell you, okay, which ones are really strong in sentiment? What categories are they really strong in? Where do they need some help? We give you AI recommendations for where you need to focus and improve. And then my personal favorite part is that we also go and scrape all of your competitors' reviews. And then we do,
well. I think this is my favorite part too.
We will give you stack ranked comparisons, and this is our SWOT analysis. So this is an actual generated SWOT analysis for 2 mortgage companies. I have changed the names so that, to protect their privacy. However, this is actual feedback. So for Acme Mortgage, which is the primary company here, we see that AI is telling us they're winning because they have a more streamlined and efficient refinancing process. Loan officers are described as helpful. And then we can also see, oops, shoot, I lost it. We can also see where some of these, where the competitor might be winning. So we could see in this case, shoot, I'm sorry about the Zoom feature, but we'll see like specific loan officers were called out by name, or which might be indicative of a more.
So it's especially in our business, it's just so important for you to understand where you're winning and where you're losing. We do a lot of that analysis on the real estate agent side, understanding where they're referring business to. So this is super helpful from a consumer standpoint of understanding what you're doing really well, what you're strong at, where your weaknesses are. Especially when you're marrying that up with your competitors in the local markets that you serve.
Exactly. And so I was chatting with a customer the other day. It's applicable across all industries, but it's really fascinating the kinds of actionable insights that can come out of this to say, oh yeah, this is really an area where we need to focus, or this is an area where, we're really strong and we should capitalize on that. These insights can also help make really strategic decisions. So we find, like with the location specific stack ranking or the loan officer stack ranking, these things are used in incentive programs often. So maybe there are bonuses tied to having strong online reputation or great service. So this is a great way to monitor all of that. And you can also drill down really deep into categories of feedback. So I'll give you an example of a customer in a different industry, but it's a fun story. Black Bear Diner is a Birdeye customer. For those of you who may not be familiar, they are a chain of restaurants where you can get breakfast all day long, and they're very, very cute. They originated in California, and they've been expanding quickly across the US, and they have several locations in Texas. Several of the managers in Texas were saying that the chicken fried steak recipe wasn't very good. Like, people in California don't know how to make chicken fried steak. You've got to change the recipe. The thing is,
I'm trying to compute that one, but go ahead.
I know.
I'm from Philadelphia, so what do I know about chicken fried steak?
It's delicious. You've got to try it. But they were going to go down the path of sourcing new suppliers, changing the recipe, updating their menus, retraining all of their chefs on how to make this. And instead, their Birdeye team, or they came into Birdeye, they searched through the feedback related to chicken fried steak and found that people actually love it. Then they were able to drill down and say, I want to see specifically reviews from customers in Texas. And they saw customers in Texas loved it. So they were able to go back to these managers and say, look, I appreciate that you don't like the recipe, but our customers are loving it. It's great. And they avoided this really expensive change that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been possible if they didn't have all of that feedback in one place and then AI powered tools to analyze and make sense of it.
Yeah, that's so great. And a couple things kind of resonate with me when you go through that story of, even maybe I have a lot of branches that serve Hispanic communities in the Southwest, and they're going to potentially look at their experience much differently than people in the Northeast that maybe has a lot lower population of Hispanic community when they're looking at these trends inside their organization. So being able to look at it at an enterprise level and look at it at a branch and local level, it's just so critical. Make sure you're serving all your consumers' needs in so many different various markets.
Exactly.
So I love this component of your platform. It used, just somebody that was responsible for this in my previous life. This analyzing this data, this rich data, I used to have an FTE that focused on this and had to do a quarterly presentation. This just simplifies that process so dramatically for lenders. So, you don't need a giant team to manage this. You guys are taking a lot of the heavy lifting off of the lenders. And really, I love how you're using AI to really analyze this from a big data standpoint. The sentiment analysis is fantastic. So, really well done here.
Thanks. We're really excited about it. And AI is moving so fast, so it's just going to get better. And so when we see the combination of all of these things come together, we drive really great results. So with Birdeye and Total Expert together, we see an average in the financial services space an increase of 309% in more search views. Because you've got an improved online reputation and a higher search ranking, we're seeing almost a 600% increase in site visits, and then that's translating to a massive increase in calls. And, just a couple of fun screenshots down here of before and after of your online reputation. It speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, those are great results.
So maybe let's dig into a specific case study of a mutual customer.
Yeah.
We co-presented at your conference earlier this summer.
Yeah, thank you for attending Accelerate. Your session was a big success from everything I've heard.
Oh, it was a wonderful event. I love Minneapolis. You guys did a great job. So Jeff Smith is our mutual customer. He's the VP of marketing. And he talks about how that integration is a game changer in terms of their reviews and customer sentiment. And they've really seen an increase in their review ratings and NPS. So they use the integration very similarly to how we talked about. So they trigger surveys at various stages of the journey. And they have been able to drive adoption with over 2,500 loan officers because of how seamless it is. They spend all day in the platform, and it's super straightforward for them. And then, of course, it's also driving all of their review gen. So when we look at the results specifically for rate, they generated almost 4,000 reviews in the first 10 months, and their star rating is a 4.9. I think that's kind of insane. I
I mean,
mean,
that's pretty close to perfect.
yeah, yeah. And we already talked about how perfect isn't great because then people don't believe it. So this is about as ideal as you can
Yeah,
get.
not as
Uh,
real as you can get. Yeah.
exactly. And then with those surveys, they were also able to get, 3,200 survey responses in that time period, which gave them really deep insights into the customer experience. Um, and I was going to say opportunities for improvement, but truly their NPS came in at an 87.5, which again, kind of
Phenomenal.
insane. But But great. And then the Insights AI tool that I showed you, they leverage that heavily to look into customer sentiment, trends in particular areas, keywords, that specific keywords that they monitor. And then of course they're stack ranking their loan officers and locations to really identify where to focus. It reminds me, because when I think about stack ranking, it's often like, oh shoot, who are our lowest performing officers or locations and what can they do to improve? But we're really big in the property management space as well. And I was chatting with someone recently who said they were looking at the stack rank and there was someone at the top who was just head and shoulders above all of the other properties in terms of the conversion rate from a tour of an apartment to a lease signing. So they started digging in and discovered that the person who was doing the tours, her name was Sarah, she had this process that was different than everyone else's, and it was really effective. So they had Sarah cross-train all of the people that did similar jobs at other properties, and they saw the lease signing conversion rates increase across the board. So it's also a great way to say, hey, who are our strongest performing loan officers and what are they doing that we can replicate across the rest of the board.
Learn from your top LOs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple. I would just give a shout out to our friends at Rate for working together with us on this integration. Jeff Smith specifically, just a fantastic customer and human, and always looking to improve the process and the ecosystem around Total Expert. So we certainly appreciate being able to work with fantastic customers like Rate.
Absolutely.
And awesome to see the positive results that they're seeing with these things.
Yeah. And, again, they're delivering amazing service for their clients. And so, they're doing the hard work there too. And it's nice to be part of the process.
Absolutely. So I think this brings us to the Q&A section. So thank you for walking us through all of that, Rebecca, and sharing your insights. Super valuable. We do have a couple questions that have come in. So I will just start with the first one that I'm reading here. So the first question, what is the effort and timing to get a lender up and operational on the Birdeye platform? Does the integration with Total Expert make that easier? What do you typically see from let's just say from the time a lender contracts with Birdeye until the time they're able to start sending out at least surveys and reviews?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our process is really streamlined. I would say it takes somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks to be fully up and running. So what we do, we've got a white glove implementation and onboarding process. So we connect the two systems together. We help you create your review generation campaigns or your review solicitation campaigns, and train you on how the platform works. And it just kind of depends on how complicated you want your hierarchy to be. But we do get outstanding ratings for our onboarding process. When it comes to the Insights tool, you get feedback and insights on day one. So the second you connect Birdeye to your Google business profiles and all of your other review sites, we ingest all of those reviews historically, so you can get immediate insights into what has happened in the past. And then, of course, every new review that's left for you gets updated in there, and you'll see your scores start to improve and your reputation improve, of course. But the Insights AI piece, you'll have feedback immediately. Of course, then the surveys will take time, but we can ingest or import prior surveys that you've done so that you can get actionable insights on that as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's great.
It's a pretty short time frame to get up and running. I know we've built some turnkey journeys and things to just even make that even easier. So we always strive to how can we get somebody up and running on any of our ecosystem partners as quickly as possible. So
right.
2 to 4 weeks is a pretty low effort and an easy timeline for sure. Definitely. All right, so let's move on to the next question. This one's around banks. So when talking about reputation management, does Birdeye work with banks in general? meaning that not just necessarily maybe the mortgage division, but at a broader scale. Maybe just talk a little bit about kind of how you've operated with banks on a broader scale of all the different divisions inside of a bank.
Absolutely. We certainly do. We have quite a strong presence in the credit union space as well. So if I go back to, let's see, where's our little logo slide? You can see, a lot of organizations here are in the credit union and banking and finance space. You know, um, where I invest my money is really important. And so, the ability to manage your online reputation at a location by location level is really important and solicit feedback. Um, I was chatting with a credit union the other day that actually was using the Insights tool and discovered that they have this really archaic process at one stage of the journey. And I personally experienced this recently with my bank. I got married and needed to change my name. And the process for changing my credit card last name requires a fax. And I was like, I don't have a fax machine. I don't know where to find a fax machine. And I was like, can I just come in and fill out the paperwork? And they said, no, you have to fax it. And I was like, can I fax it from your fax machine to your fax? Like something, please. So
Yeah,
bottom line, my credit card still has my old last name on it because I haven't been able to figure that
I would
out.
have changed banks way before that.
Right. I'm
Yeah,
ready. I'm ready. But these were like the archaic processes that our customer in
it's
particular
a
was
great
able to
example.
uncover, and they
Yeah,
fixed it. So yes, we have a lot of banks that use
awesome.
our platform and they get great results.
Awesome. So, final question I have is, so Birdeye is integrated with various AI capabilities as you showcased today. How are you ensuring that you're protecting that consumer data to ensure that they don't end up in open AI models on the internet, but are protected just my organization?
Yes. Oh, this is such a great question. The trust in the model is really, really important. So we've got, so the first thing is we work with several best-in-class AI platforms. So we've got some AI tools that fuel the analysis components we were looking at, other tools that are going to help you generate images for social media or, content ideas. So we work with the best-in-class platforms. And we do not share any of your information back with those platforms. And we don't share any of that information with any other Birdeye customers. There isn't like a shared pool of data. It is just yours. Um,
You
and
really are truly walling off my data as a financial institution, but just leveraging those AI models against just my walled off data.
correct, correct. Yeah, we call it a walled garden, really. And so it is just your information. And the we can do like private reports for you to show the security checks and things that we've gone through, but we take it very, very seriously. And the other component that I would point out, in addition to never sharing your information, is that our AI philosophy is still human first. So I didn't mention this earlier, but when you get online reviews and you reply to them, you can use our AI models to draft a reply or rephrase your reply to be more professional or more friendly or whatever that is. But you as a person still need to review that and click the button to post it. We are not like philosophically aligned with the idea of just AI auto responding to customer feedback.
Right.
It's
So
really important.
you're making a suggestion based off of the sentiment of the customer, their review. You're making a suggested response, but you really want a human to kind of infiltrate that response and ultimately determine, if that's the right response for that use case.
That's
Kind of
correct.
like a
Yep.
human in the loop type of model. So you're
Yep.
making them humans much more efficient, but not necessarily replacing that process.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely. We're helping you streamline, but we still want you to read that feedback and take it to heart and have a connection with that customer. So yes.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end. So I know we had kind of a final slide. Just thank you for everybody that hung on with us through the 50 minutes. Rebecca and I would love to connect with you. Check us out on LinkedIn. Connect with us. If you have any questions, feel free to ping us, DM us there. on the prior slide, there was a QR code for our marketplace, Total Experts Marketplace. So if you want to learn more about the solution or how we're partnering with Birdeye, feel free to either go to the URL or snap a shot of the QR code, and we'll be happy to teach you more and educate you on some of the things that we're doing, even beyond what Rebecca showed. I know we have a couple iterations of enhancements coming down the line, which we're pretty excited about as well. So Rebecca, thank you so much for spending the time with us today and sharing all your insights. And thank you to our audience for hanging in there with us. Hopefully this was valuable, and we're excited to hear from y'all.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed our chat.
Thank you.